Hey everyone, welcome to tonight's show. So if you have been considering law school and you have questions like, what should I major in? What's a perfect LSAT score? What are the requirements to get into law school? You're going to want to tune in to tonight's episode because I have attorney Jazz on the show who is going to be talking to us all about her experience going through the law school admissions process and law school in general. And she's going to be giving us inside tips and strategies on how to succeed not only as pre-law, but how to also get into law school successfully. Jasmine A. Robinson is, or Attorney Jazz as she's called by many people, is an attorney, author, law school coach, spiritpreneur, and wife. She is an honors graduate of Mercer University School of Law in Hampton University. She is also the founder of Sox Law, LLC, a law school admissions consulting brand created to enhance cultural diversity in the legal field. Through Jazz Talks Law, Attorney Jazz has helped future lawyers receive over $700,000 in law school scholarships. That's a lot. While helping them succeed in law school. I'm Clarissa, your host, and you're watching She Rocks That College Live, a live show that happens every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where it was designed to really bring college women like you together so you can meet each other over chat while being exposed to different schools of thought, different strategies to help you succeed not only in college, but in life. So why don't we go ahead, put the intro on, and get into the show. Hey Jazz, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. So Jazz, I am familiar with your story because I've stalked your YouTube channel and your Instagram all day long, but I would love for those people who might not know who you are to hear a little bit about your story, how you became an attorney and how you started Jazz Talks Law.
How I became an attorney. The grace of God. That is essentially how it happened. But no, I'm attorney Jasmine Robinson. A lot of people call me Attorney Jazz for short, as Clarissa stated. Born and raised in Richmond, Virginia. Always knew I wanted to be an attorney thanks to my crazy family. I thought I was going to have this big divorce law firm for 1-800-divorce sign. You know, everyone in my family has been divorced. So I just knew, that was what I wanted to do. So I went on to Hampton University. The best HBCU in the whole world. I went from a Richmond girl to a Hampton woman, as I like to say. And then I heard about Mercer Law. Being at Hampton, I knew I was going to law school, like I said, because of my family and, the divorce and things that we experienced. So, I heard about Mercer Law while I was at Hampton. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. And then they were offering, visits to the school and all these things. And, I went on down to Mercer. I visited, fell in love, and then I said, okay, it's time for me to get into law school. The downside is I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I'm the first lawyer in my family. My LSAT score was not high at all, and I'm very, very honest about this because here I am, a whole attorney, as I like to say. I had a 144 LSAT as my highest LSAT score. And I was just lost throughout the whole process. First lawyer in my family, so I did not know what I was doing. Nevertheless, I got accepted to law school, got a partial scholarship, went on down to Macon for law school. And looking back, I'm like, I really needed Jazz Talks Law. I really needed Jazz Talks Law. As a law school coach, I help future lawyers through the entire law school admissions process. And it started because I was a second-year law student at Mercer, and they asked me if I wanted to go back to my alma mater, Hampton University. And I was like, y'all paying for me to go back to here? Sure. They wanted me to go to a grad fair event or whatever. I'm like, sure. So I planned this event called Jazz Talks Law with some of the current students. It was an amazing event. Everyone came out. They had all these questions about law school. They wanted to know what it was like to be a law student, all this stuff. And I left the event like, oh my God, that was so much fun. Like, I didn't feel drained. I didn't feel tired. I felt energized. I felt like I was doing something that I really enjoy, you know, telling all these future lawyers, do this, don't make the mistakes I made, find a mentor, you know, like telling them all these things. And I went back my third year of law school. Then I went on to graduate from Mercer, and I realized, like, wow, we're really missing diversity in this profession. I walked across the stage and I looked into the crowd. You know, I got my Juris Doctor, and there was maybe a handful of, you know, non-Caucasian people in the crowd. And I was just like, wow, this is interesting. And it really clicked in that moment that this is a problem. So nationally speaking, African American attorneys, for example, are only about 4.8%.
Wow.
And I'll just be fair, I'll say 5%. Let's just give them the extra the extra point too, right? So nationally speaking, we're only 5%. Like, that is, I mean, 5%. Very. And it's been that way for the past 50 years, specifically since Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Wow.
Yeah. It was 5% then, and it's still 5%. And that's just the statistics for African American attorneys. The other statistics for Hispanics, Asians are even lower.
Wow.
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's the problem that I wanted to solve. So I, you know, went on to take the bar exam, passed the bar exam. Thank the Lord. One and done. Blood, sweat, and tears literally throughout that whole process. And I started practicing and just realized I was not in love with litigation, doing family law anymore. And I made a hard decision to stop practicing and really focus all my time and energy into Sox Law to help future lawyers through the entire law school admissions process. And the funny part about it is Mercer Law wasn't hiring. They, you know, the easiest route would have just been for me to try to be a recruiter again. Because after I graduated and passed before I passed the bar, but after I graduated, I was a seasoned recruiter for them. So my first thought was, well, maybe I can just become like a year-long recruiter for them, but they weren't hiring. So I really had to figure it out on my own. And you know, I just realized, like, Jasmine, you can work for yourself. You can be a law school coach. You don't have to, you know, be associated with a school, you know, directly. So I started Sox Law, and like you said, 2 years later, we've done 700,000 in law school scholarships.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and the goal is to reach 1 million. So if you're out there and you can help me reach that goal, you know, we have like pre-law master classes, personal statement workbooks, a lot of different resources. You know, I review personal statements. I help people with their LSAT study schedules, all that good stuff. So, you know, if you're out there, you can help me reach this $1 million number. You know, I'm talking full tuition scholarships. That's the goal.
And law school is expensive. My husband's best friend went to law school, and when he told us how much he owes, I was like, what? Yeah.
It's a lot. But I tell everyone that law school is expensive, but you're not going to foot the bill. Don't be like me. Don't just go to law school to say you in law school with, you know, you got to get all these loans. Get the scholarship. If that means you have to work hard for another year with your LSAT and everything else, do that. Get the scholarship. Law school ain't going nowhere.
I'm so glad that you said that, because everybody today is in a rush to like get to the next milestone.
Yes.
And I often have to tell even my students, like, it's okay to drop a class if it's going to mean that you are going to do better in your other classes. There is no, like, it sucks because you're going to have to pay an extra semester of school, but like, who says you have to pay for it? Like, let's look up scholarships in this time off. Let's do something about it. So I'm glad that you said that. And that actually brings me to my first question, which is, what are the common misconceptions that college students have about the path to law school?
I think one of the most common that I've heard most recently is that you need some type of legal experience before you go to law school. So, for example, someone messages me on my Twitter page and they was like, you know, I just don't think I'm cut out for law school just yet. You know, and they just was going on about how they were feeling. And I'm like, well, why don't you feel like you're cut out for law school? And they're like, well, I haven't had any type of legal internships or anything like that. And I said, well, you don't necessarily need to have that. And I've heard that so many times. It's great. Don't get me wrong. It's great to work for a judge or, you know, to work at a law firm as a law clerk or what have you, but it's not like a requirement, it's just a bonus to your application. I mean, I didn't have any, legal experience per se to go with my law school application. A lot of my clients don't, and they have still gotten into law school and they're still doing well. I mean, you're going to law school to get the legal experience. So, it would be kind of unfair to acquire students to have that experience, before going. And I think another big misconception is, what we just kind of touched on is that law school is expensive. And yes, law school is expensive, but you are not footing the bill. That is the piece that people just automatically say, well, where am I going to get that money from? I can't pay for law school. Who can? I mean, who can pay for law school? But the whole point is for us to work together, to get a good application put together and, submit an application that makes it so you don't have to pay for law school at all.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I was doing research on scholarships and how many go like unclaimed. It's like millions of dollars of scholarships that didn't go to anybody because no one applied for them.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that because every week I send out scholarship announcements. So when people visit my website, soxlaw.com, and they subscribe to our email list, every week they get a list of the latest scholarships. And this is pre-law scholarships and also law student scholarships. Wow. And I mean, there's all types of stuff, $500, $1,000, $10,000. I mean, $25,000. Like, there's so many different ranges of scholarships, and sometimes they literally write the check out to you. So, we should all be responsible, with what we do with that money. But, I mean, literally, there's so many resources out there. I think sometimes we just, we don't get the money directly from the school. Sometimes we just give up.
Yeah. And one of the things that I'm going to do for those of you who are watching live or might be listening in later on is I will ask Jazz to give me information so that you can get on her email list. So if you are interested in being pre-law, you're currently pre-law, and it's never too late to apply for scholarships. Even if you're a sophomore, junior, senior in college, it doesn't matter. Any moment that you can get your hands on free money, that's awesome. So
take it.
Yeah, I'll make sure to put that in the show notes so that you guys have access to that. So
Absolutely.
Misconception number 1 is thinking that you have to have legal advice. Number 2 is that law school is expensive, and we covered both of those. So what does pre-law really mean? I think, so in the case of pre-med, when I was thinking of going to medical school, I was told that I needed to either be a bio major, a chem major, or a major in the sciences. And it wasn't until later on, while I was having a conversation with an African-American doctor, and he was like, that's like another huge misconception about medical school, is that people think that you need to major in science. Not the case. I'm sure that there are myths out there about law school itself. So is there a particular major that someone who's thinking about going to law school needs to major in?
No. Oh my gosh. You do not need to be a pre-law major. You do not need to be a political science major. First off, when people say, I'm going to be a political science major, my first thought is, oh, do you want to be a politician? Or do you want to be a campaign manager? Like, what's making you feel like you're going to, you should be a political science major? And a lot of times it's, because I want to go to law school. Well, guess what? I made that mistake too. When I was a freshman at Hampton, when I enrolled, my initial major was political science. And then I switched once I realized, like, I'm not really interested in politics, like, at all. Like, why is this my major? And it was literally because I thought that was your major to go to law school. And once I realized, I don't necessarily have to major in that, I switched to sociology, and I was so much more happy. But to answer your question, you could be any major. And what I tell people is think about what your career goals are. So, for example, if you want to be the next Angela Rye, on CNN, doing a lot of being a legal analyst on CNN or what have you, then maybe you should major in like mass communications. That's a good background to have before you go off to law school. Or, for example, maybe you're really interested in just like general litigation. Well, as a litigator, you are writing a lot. I mean, a lot of writing. So maybe a good, strong writing background. So maybe an English major or what have you. Or maybe you want to do patents. Maybe you are interested in patents for like the latest technology or what have you, then maybe like a computer science background would be good. And not even maybe, in fact, if you want to do like become like a patent attorney, then you have to have like a science type of background to even sit for the patent bar, which is totally separate from the regular bar. So I would not be taking that bar, but but yeah, the point is your major should align with your long-term goals. So we want to become an attorney, but what type of attorney? And if you change your mind, fine. You know, it's not like set in stone, like you have to do this, you know, this particular or anything like that. But, you know, there's so many majors out there, and I think you should really make the most of your undergrad career and choose something you like.
Yeah, I agree with that advice 100%. And we always have the students that say, well, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what kind of lawyer I want to be. And in that case, like, just figure out what I don't know if this is the correct advice, but typically what I tell students is, like, pick something that you know are going to meet the requirements to actually get into law school, but that is still something that you like. And you know, who says that you can't major in art and just take the necessary classes that you need to get into law school?
Yeah, that, and if you just don't know what kind of lawyer you want to be, you should ask yourself, what kind of lawyer don't I want to be? So maybe that can help you out. And if you still are just kind of stuck on picking a major, you can never fail with going with English. Never. Because every lawyer has to know how to write. Like,
true.
It's like, and then reading as well. Oh my gosh, like literally some nights I would be reading 100, 200 pages per class. Well, not per class, like in some, like in one night. So any major that requires a lot of reading, a lot of writing, you know, working on grammar, all that good stuff, like, it's always a good idea as a last resort.
Awesome. So what is the process to get into law school in general? I think the thing, so everybody knows that you have to take the LSATs, and there are already a lot of questions coming in about the LSATs. I promise you we'll get to them, but let's go one step at a time. So what is the process to actually getting into law school?
Yeah, so I'm going to start by saying that I want to make sure I give you one of our free law school application timelines, or if you subscribe, you get that free law school application timeline as well by visiting our website, jazztalkslaw.com. But I want to focus really, because everyone, like you said, everyone knows about the LSAT, right? But a lot of people don't focus on what you should do before you even like start studying for the LSAT. You know, a lot of people just dive straight there. And for example, they don't even know what their target LSAT score is, right? And the only way you can create your target LSAT score is by creating a law school list, right? And then you have to really understand what needs to go into that law school list. So, you know, I kind of went backwards, but to go from the beginning, the moment you say, I want to go to law school, you have to educate yourself, and you have to surround yourself around the right people. You have to be careful with who you share your dreams, your plans with, because there are a lot of people who just have so many things against law school. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, people who would just shoot your dreams down, remind you of how expensive it is, blah, blah, blah. You gotta, you know, just out the gate, be very focused, be careful who you share your dreams and your plans with. Now to the concrete stuff. One of the first things you want to do is start surrounding yourself you want to start attending different events. So like pre-law fairs and conferences and, you know, open houses, just to get a feel of what this whole law school thing is like, just generally speaking. And then from there, like, really start thinking about it more seriously. Like, okay, what law schools am I interested in? What kind of law am I interested in? Like, really just starting to ask yourself these type of questions. And from there, I think the biggest milestone to start with is creating your law school list. So in creating your law school list, you're going to find out, for example, what their personal statement requirements are. You're going to find out, for example, what LSAT score they want from you, what their GPA median is. You're going to find out their location. You're going to find out all these factors that you probably didn't even think of, like their student faculty ratio. That's important, right? So you're going to create a really, 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 really detailed law school list, and that's something that, you know, I cover like in full detail in our pre-law masterclass. But I mean, that is like the main thing, like creating that law school list, like doing research on the culture of the school, making sure, you know, they handle different matters on campus appropriately. Like, you really have to do a lot of research and create that law school list. And only then can you say, okay, based on my law school list, this is that personal statement I need to write. This is the LSAT score I need, and so and such forth. Because you could, if you don't do that law school list first, you could literally be killing yourself with LSAT prep, like just gunning for this 170, right? And you don't even need a 170. You're based on, the 10 schools or 5 schools or whatever. The median, if you combine all those scores, is like a 160. Yeah. And you're just stressing yourself out because you didn't do that research beforehand. So then once you do that research, now you know what you need to put together in an application. Then you continue on to select like your LSAT prep. So how are you going to go about that? Figuring that out, whether you're going to do a course or whether you're going to do self-study, and then figuring out, okay, who's going to help me through this process? Because you're going to need help. You're going to need guidance. So is that going to be a mentor? Is that going to be a tutor? Is that going to be someone like me, your law school coach? Like figuring that out and then, creating the to-do list. So I typically tell people to start with LSAT prep because that's like the hardest part of the process. That typically takes 4 to 6 months. And then like while you're waiting for your LSAT score, you're then working on your personal statement. And then of course, backtrack a little bit. While you do want to start with your LSAT prep, you also want to think about your recommenders. So you want to give them as much time as possible to write those letters, or for them to tell you that they actually can't do it, so you can find someone else and still have time to make your application. So that's just a quick overview of the whole process.
That sounds like a really, really long process, and I am so glad that I chose not to apply to law school. But I love, Jasmine, that you really encourage students to look into beyond just like which law school is going to get me the best job, because you're there for, it's usually 3 years. Mm-hmm. You're there for 3 years of your life. Like, you want to make sure that it's an environment that makes you feel alive. It makes you feel good, and that you're not dreading those 3 years, because that really sucks. And I think that that's really key advice that a lot of people don't talk about when they're answering that question. How should I pick schools? A lot of people just say, "Oh, look how much money it is. Look at the location," but no one's talking about like how are they dealing with legal issues and how are they dealing with student issues and things like that.
And then also they look at the LSAT requirement. Literally, I have so many of my future lawyers who I look at their law school list, and they, I can immediately tell just by the schools on their list that they were just going for schools that had lower LSAT requirements. And unfortunately, a lot of those schools with that lower LSAT requirement, they use that as a bait, and we call it like a bait and switch, where that low LSAT, come on over here with your 141 or whatever, but you're going to pay this high tuition though. Like it's like a bait and switch. That's literally how it comes off. That's and crazy. You should not, first off, I tell you all the time, you're not going to settle for law school. You're not going to settle for no man. You're not going to settle for nothing. Like, we aren't settling for anything. So for you to off the base, and for you to off the base, create a law school list just based on low LSAT scores. Like, hold on, sis. Like, we gotta back up and rethink this, because if you put in the time, if you put in the work, if you're disciplined and you have the strategies, you can get that LSAT score you need, and you can go to the school that really suits you and not just the school that has a low LSAT requirement.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you said that typically it takes about 6 months. So students should start really thinking about taking the LSATs what year of college?
I would say if you're in college, I would say your junior year. I would honestly start the summer before your junior year. Wow. Yeah, I think that is a good time just to get started. Unfortunately, a lot of people will do the LSAT by themselves, self-study, and they'll actually take it, and then they get the score back, and they aren't happy, with it, and then they realize, like, all right, I gotta really put in time and energy into this. Like, this isn't something I'm just gonna get by with or whatever. So that's why I typically say 6 months, just to give yourself really time to process everything.
Yeah, we had a student, Gardenia, who's asking, how did you study for the LSATs and juggle class work, studying for exams, and volunteering? So I think when you answered that, first of all, start in the summertime when you don't have all those things going on.
Yeah, because, and if you start in the summer, so let's say, classes typically let out what? I feel old. When the classes? April, May?
So typically May, yeah.
May, okay. So if you start in like mid-May, or let's just say June. So June, July, and August, that's when you're laying your foundation. You're not in class, right? So you can really focus like 20 hours a week on really understanding the concepts, like really getting the foundation of your LSAT house correct. That's what I like to call it, a house. And then once you get back into the school year, like mid-August, early September, or what have you, then from there, you already know how to approach assumption questions. You already know how to approach logical reasoning games, whatever. So by the time you get back in school, you're just perfecting your craft. You're just doing timing. You're just doing practice tests. And of course, you're still reviewing and, correcting your errors and learning from your mistakes. But the foundation is already laid, and you're just, continuing to build that house.
Yeah.
So I think if you start in the summer, that's best of your junior year. But if, for example, a lot of my clients and future lawyers, they're no longer in college. So yeah. So, I think that was one thing I noticed out of the gate, that I didn't want to just market myself just to college students. I know there's a lot of people who take a year off or 2 years off, and it's needed, So if, for example, if you just feel like I cannot juggle getting ready for this LSAT and also class, volunteering, or what have you, it's okay to, if you are really serious about it, to take a year after you graduate, get that degree, and then you use that, that gap year to really prepare. Like if you're serious about doing that, right? But and then I would also wonder about that volunteering. One misconception, another one, to answer your question from earlier, is that I should get all this volunteer experience, this internship experience, all of that. And it's great for your application. But at the end of the day, it's not going to outshine that LSAT score. It's just not. And it's not to say that you shouldn't volunteer, you shouldn't do an internship, you shouldn't be a part of the honor societies and all this stuff. Those are bonuses to your application to go on top of your LSAT score that take you from getting just a partial scholarship to now a full tuition scholarship. But if you have to prioritize school, LSAT, volunteering, okay? And, we can volunteer anytime, They always need volunteers, That's never gonna go away.
Yeah, I'm so glad, because I was gonna say it's about weighing your goals against your priorities, right? Your priorities against your goals, and making sure that they're aligned with what it is that you're trying to achieve. And at the end of the day, I am gonna slash everything that's not gonna help me to get where it is that I need to be. So I'm so glad that you said the word priority. Because it is so key. That's really what like time management comes down to. It's you can do it all, like Oprah says. You just cannot do it all at once.
At the same time.
Yeah, you just have to figure out, okay, what is the most important thing for me right now? And if it's making sure that you get a high enough LSAT score so that you are competitive for scholarships, then the volunteering needs to go. For a season. Yeah, for a season, not permanently. Yeah. So one of the students who I'm actually currently working with, her name is Jasmine as well, Jasmine Cooper. She wanted me to make sure to ask you specifically this question, because she is thinking of going to Howard Law School, and she is wondering how going to a school that is not considered one of the top law schools affects your chances of landing a really good law job afterwards.
Well, the first thing I would say is, what kind of job are you interested in? So, for example, if you have this dream of working at like one of the biggest law firms, so in Atlanta, one of the top law firms, I'm talking about like 200, 300, 400 attorney type law firms, it's called King and Spalding. They're in the tallest building in downtown Atlanta, beautiful, like type building, very expensive law firms. They work with clients like Delta and people like that. So if you want to work for a big law firm like corporate or what have you, then yes, a lot of them do look for a certain law school, and sometimes it can just be based on their region. So for example, some schools, they just like top 20 law schools. Some firms are just like top 20 law schools. But then, for example, King and Spalding, even though Mercer, isn't considered a top 20 law school, locally speaking, Mercer is a really good school. They just aren't on a national known level. So, King and Spalding will still look at students from Mercer. But so first you have to ask yourself, what kind of law do I want to practice? If, for example, you want to do like some type of nonprofit legal work, or if you want to be like a DA, or if you want to be a public defender, or, or something more so in the public sector, work for the government or what have you, then you don't need to go to, the number one law school. It's really about what your career goals are. And then I would also say, yeah, they may be ranked number one, or number two or whatever, but which school has the best programs for you? So, for example, if your goal is to become like a big divorce attorney, like, that was my whole dream, to be a big divorce attorney, right? You could go to the number 10 school, whatever that is, but if they don't have a really good family law program, what's the point of that? So, I think rank can assist you when you've already considered the other factors. Like, is this school going to help me with my career path? Does this school have the programs, the concentrations, all of that? Consider that first. And then if you like have, I don't know, 3 schools that have the programs, have the concentrations, that have, things that are going to help you get to your career field, then you're like, dang, I don't know, which one. Well, maybe you consider the rank then. And I also give this advice for people who ask me about like HBCU or PWI, like which one should I go to? And I tell them the same thing, consider that last. Just like you consider that rank last, consider the programs, what they have to offer you, the location, how much tuition is, or what have you. Consider all that first and use rank and HBCU or PWI, consider that last.
So again, you're giving us like really, really great advice. Seriously, you're brilliant at what it is that you do. And I love how you're challenging students to like just go beyond what society is probably telling them the only things that they need to look for. Why? Because it benefits their pocket, right? Because they want students to make mistakes in picking schools. Unfortunately. But what advice would you give? Speaking of HBCU versus PWI, what advice would you give to women of color who are considering going to law school? Is the process different for them?
Is the process different for women of color? I think it depends. One, it depends on which law schools you're applying to, right? All law schools are not created equally, unfortunately. There is literally, you could probably Google it and find it, but there are some lists out there that say, for example, schools where you can wear Make America Great Again hats and no one even thinks twice about it. And then that's like the title of it. So they're basically referring to like very conservative type of schools. And then there's like another list. It said something like schools where Hillary's top supporters are located, or something like that. And it's referring to like liberals. So what I'm getting at is, if you are applying to schools that are a lot more liberal speaking, then I don't think you have to worry about like embellishing yourself or what have you. But if you are, applying to schools and, in areas that still have some biases and things that they need to deal with, I don't think you should feel like you have to, embellish yourself, but just know that they may not see you for who you really are. And at the end of the day, that's okay. If you feel like, this school isn't really seeing you for who you really are, then guess what? Maybe that's a blessing in disguise and you just don't need to go to that school.
Yeah. So how easy is it to switch schools once you're in?
The application process is pretty much the same. Well, it's actually a little easier because you don't have to take the LSAT again.
Yeah. Because I'm just wondering, like, what, you have this idea of what it would be like. Scenario. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So the application process is the same. Most schools, you just do like another personal statement, recommendation letters. They look at your grades. Your grades are very important. But it's just very similar. You submit your applications as a transfer applicant through LSAT, which is the Law School Admissions Council, where you know, submit all your applications as a pre-law student. It's not really hard necessarily, but the only drawback that I am finding, and that, you know, a lot of people know of, is a lot of transfer students don't get scholarship offers. You know, so they may get admitted, you know, as a transfer student, but in a lot, I don't ever say like ever, you know, but in a lot of cases, they aren't being offered scholarship money. You know, that's what the trend has been for a lot of people. But at the same time, I always tell people, you know, if your fear is like debt, if that is your main concern, one, don't go to law school until you get the application right, you know, including that LSAT score. Yeah. But even still, like, let's say, for example, you're deciding between two schools, and one is like your dream school. They have the programs, like they have everything you want in a law school, but their scholarship offer is only 50% versus another school who's offering you a full scholarship, but, you know, they have some stuff you like and some stuff you don't. I tell people at the end of the day, go with what's going to make you happy. Like you said earlier, you're going to spend 3 years of your life at this school. And at the end of the day, law school debt is some of the best debt you can have. Because guess what? They can't repossess it. Like, they can't take your law degree from you. That's true. I'm not, Sox Law, LLC is not encouraging anyone to, you know, default on their loans. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't want you to look at law school debt like a car or a house, you know, like, I mean, what's in my head is in my head, you know, like, so, you know, this is some of the best debt that I can have.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%. You're honestly, I'm just like loving everything that's coming out of your mouth. I love it so much. So
I don't know where it comes from. I mean, it just
hello, one place, right?
Yeah.
So on that note, I'm gonna ask you one last question, and then I'm gonna have you at the end kind of tell people where they can find more about you, and then if there are any resources and how students can work with you, because I think that you have you're very wise in the advice that you give. And so one of the things that I really focus in on with college students is mindset and habit creation and discipline. So what mindsets or habits do you think that students who are considering law school should start to cultivate now prior to actually starting the law school process?
I think this is, for me, there's two parts to this. And the first part is you have to create boundaries with your loved ones. You're going to have loved ones who are super supportive of you going to law school, but you're going to have loved ones, whether they're family or friends, mama, whoever, who are just super negative about you pursuing law school. And if you know that you are supposed to be an attorney, you should not let anyone stop you. And Jay-Z said, you know, a lot of people will project their fears onto you. So, for example, if they don't think they can, you know, do well on the LSAT, if they don't think they can, you know, get into a good law school, get a scholarship or what have you, then they're going to project their misfortunes or their own, you know, their own negative thoughts about themselves onto you. So you have to be very, very intentional about creating boundaries so that negative energy or their negative advice or what have you doesn't get in your space. And, you know, surrounding yourself around people who do believe in you, people like yourself, people like me who are like, yo, you can get into law school. You can listen, if I got into law school, anyone can get into law school, right? So the first thing is really creating boundaries and not letting any negative vibes or energy surrounding your law school plans come in. And then also, I think the biggest thing about the law school admissions process and law practice, when it comes to just that mentality, is discipline. It's my favorite. It's my favorite word. And I did not know anything about discipline, you know, relating to law school prior to starting law school. But once I started law school, I had to let go of my LSAT score and realize no matter what my score was, if I am disciplined if I do what I'm supposed to do, I can graduate law school with honors. I can pass the bar after the first try. And I did both of those things. And it was because I was disciplined. It was not because I'm smart. Like, people just think I'm so smart.
Preach.
I mean, I'm not dumb.
I know. Right? I say it all the time too.
This is not about being smart, guys. The smartest person in the room is the most disciplined person in the room. And I can guarantee you that. Like, you cannot just, and it's also, and I also will say that the richest person in the room isn't all that doesn't equate to them being the smartest person either. Because you can be smart, you can have all the resources, you can hire me for 2 years straight. But if you don't do what I tell you to do, if you aren't disciplined, right? About to start praising it here. And then the bar exam, you can't buy that. Like, you can't buy a bar pass. You have to be disciplined. That means, you're actually doing 20 practice LSATs, before test day. You are actually, one of my clients, I was so proud of her. She did 50 practice LSATs.
Wow.
50. Yeah, these are 4 or 5 hour tests. She did 50 of them, review all the answers and explanations. But that's how disciplined she was. She's like, yo, I cannot pay for law school. So she had to equip her mind. She had to create some boundaries and get it done. And now she's in law school. She's not paying for it.
Yeah, oh my God. So you are actually teaching a lot of the key study skills that I teach my students. Practice exams. Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love it because, a lot of people don't realize the impact of testing, and they get really scared by it because at the beginning you don't score well. It's in repeating and taking multiple ones that you start to increase your score. But like those initial ones where you're like, I got a 50.
Like, what is it?
Yeah,
like,
you get scared off, but it's so key. Yeah, and it's been one of the, so that it's called retrieval practice or testing practice. It's like one of the number one most effective study skills that you can have as a student or that you can use as a student. But it is one of the most difficult to get students to actually put into practice because it is very hard to see yourself not doing well at the beginning and to want to keep going. Yeah. Jasmine, thank you so much for being on the show tonight, and I love your energy. You're so bubbly. You're so intelligent, so well spoken, and I think that
thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I think that what you're doing and what you're representing for us women of color is huge. It is so needed, and I would love for the girls that are watching right now, the girls that are commenting, to really be able to get to know you a little bit more, to follow you, and to utilize the resources that you provide. So where can they find more of that?
So I love Instagram. That is like my number one go-to. And Twitter is giving them a run for their money, I must say. Twitter is making a comeback.
Yeah.
But on all my social media, it's at Jazz Talks Law. JAS Talks TALKS Law. LAW. Jazz Talks Law. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. My email is the same, info at jazztalkslaw.com. Website, jazztalkslaw.com. I definitely want everyone to visit our website and subscribe. You'll receive our free law school application timeline. I literally break down everything you should be doing, and it comes with a timeline that you can actually fill in to keep yourself accountable. So I definitely want y'all to subscribe. Yeah, I definitely want y'all to subscribe and get that. And I was also sharing earlier before we started the live that I wanted to do something special for you and for your subscribers. So I didn't really go into a whole lot of detail about it, but I have an online course. It's called the Pre-Law Masterclass. This is for those of you who have really, really bad pre-law advisors who are telling you don't go to law school, or telling you, for example, that you can only take the LSAT twice, or just all this bad advice. This is for those of you who may be out of law school but you still need help. Even though you aren't in law school anymore, even though you aren't in college anymore, you can't reach out to your pre-law advisors anymore or what have you. So I created this pre-law masterclass to help you guys out. So I'm basically your pre-law advisor through 8 online lessons. And we cover everything from why you want to go to law school, what to expect during law school. We cover LSAT prep, which LSAT course you should take. I have a whole chart. And if you just spend 30 minutes with it, you would know based on the factors and all this cool stuff that I put together, you'll know which course is best for you. And then we also talk about LSAT study schedules, and I have a whole workbook that comes with the course that includes these sample LSAT study schedules. And then we go into your personal statement, what that should look like, emphasis on a personal statement. We go over diversity statement. Literally, there's so many information, so many lessons. There's a workbook. There's some online chats, discussion boards that I engage with. I ask you prompts like, tell me the opening of your personal statement, and I literally review it and I respond to it. So,
wow.
It's a very interactive course. And for all of the subscribers, I'm offering you guys 30% off of that course.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm so happy that you invited me to be on this show. I think what you're doing is amazing. I wish I had you, even before I went to college.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that SAT business was a hot mess.
Yeah. I know. I had to work so hard.
Yeah. But once again, you can visit jazztalkslaw.com/pre-law masterclass, or if you just go to jazztalkslaw.com, and if you can find it, if you just search around a bit, and you can find the pre-law masterclass. But of course, I'll send something over to you to share with all of your subscribers. And the discount code will be what did we say it was going to be?
We said it was going to be She Rocks Law School.
She Rocks Law School. So as soon as I log off today, I'm going to make that active. The discount code She Rocks Law School will be available for the first 5 people that use it.
Perfect.
And it'll be active. What's today? Today's Thursday.
Yes.
So it'll be
Thursday,
good.
The 15th.
15th, almost Thanksgiving. So it'll be active until Sunday. So you have until Sunday to use it. But 30% off. I don't do a lot of discounts, but this time of the year, I definitely try to help people out that could use it. So, it's a great investment. If you have any questions, of course, you can email me and we can talk more about it.
Perfect. And I will have everything, all the links, everything that Jasmine talked about tonight, a breakdown of the show on the show notes over at sherocksatcollege.com. And so you'll be able to just go there and click, although we have been putting everything in the chat for those of you who have been asking, so you can link it. You can just click on one of those links there. And Jasmine, I've taken up way too much of your time tonight.
No, you're fine. This is great.
So I'm going to go ahead and close off the show, put our little outro
yay
music little video thing there, and then you and I can chat afterwards.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.